In the last video, we just finished our game against Lund in the south of Sweden on the Saturday, and we're now gearing up to play Sunday's game against Hilter Hamstead, who are this last season's champions and currently undefeated this season. I really enjoyed this weekend away with the team in Skåne. We spend loads of time together playing volleyball, obviously, but it's nice to have some time together, admittedly still around volleyball, but not playing, to socialise and get to know each other more. It was well timed as well, as that Saturday night was when England played France in the quarterfinal of the World Cup. Made for quite an entertaining atmosphere. You had Alex and I, who are both English, obviously hearts and mouths, although we shan't talk about what happened. And then a load of Swedish guys who, for the most part, showed a polite interest, but probably not quite as invested as Alex and I. Anyway, then it was off to bed and then a big hotel breakfast the next morning. Plenty of odd little Swedish bits to go with it as well. You had this weird caviar stuff, meatballs with your full English, obviously. And if you're Carl, then a lot of scrambled eggs. I can't really think of a better point to segue onto the video from. I'm speechless. Like, look at it. Who eats that many eggs for breakfast? Anyway, so the first point of the game is going to illustrate one of the big difficulties facing this team, and that's their setter. He's a really aggressive player who, as you can see, is not shy about firing in a B from a low pass on the 3-metre line. That being said, we are still fully capable of competing with this team. As this point shows, if you side as well, you always have a great chance. And actually getting off to a quite good start here when my serve gets eaten for breakfast to try run an inside ball and we get a big block in the middle. It's a great rally now coming up with some decent block defence from us, but unfortunately we're not able to apply enough pressure, so when we eventually give away the free ball, it is decisively punished. Something else their setter does that I really like is how much he tries to establish the middle at the start of the game. I think it's way too common for setters to set the middle, and then if they don't score the point, they don't go back to them for a long time, and then when it gets to crunch time in the set, it's 20-all, you're pretty unlikely to then go back to the middle. You've not set all game. Pretty good pass and a slightly messy kill, but again, it's good that we're siding out. Not a brilliant pass from me here, slightly behind the setter, although Carl does a really good job to still fire it out to the pin. And what do you reckon, was that ball up or down? We certainly thought down, but still on the point, so who cares? This is very funny, so it doesn't matter how good the team is, anyone at any level is still capable of doing something very stupid. I talked in the last video about how I like playing with setters who are good on the second ball. This game, you can see the other side of it. Playing against setters who are good on the second ball is a nightmare. Best case, you're just a bit late to the block when the ball is tight. Bit worse is you have to jump with them and are super duper late to the block, and the worst case is that. They just win the point. I think every ball I kill in this game is a complete mess. Quite normal for me, to be honest, to have lots of tips and blockouts and such, but this game really stands out in my head for being super scrappy in attack. There's not one just clean hit, ball hits floor, happy days, but still could be winning points. Something else to look out for in this game that makes Hilter so tough is their libero is very good. Not just in reception and defense where he's taking a ton of court, but also look here at his setting. When the libero for Hilter has to set, he's still playing fast and they're playing in system, whereas basically every other team, as soon as the ball's on the setter, you can guarantee the libero is going to set a high ball and you should be able to get up a good triple block. I don't remember exactly what the score was at this point, but I remember that it was very close. I think it's about 22-all, something like that. We really surprised ourselves in the first set with how well we played. Hilter did make a handful of errors, which helped, but unfortunately we were never quite able to pull away enough to take the set, but it was very close. This point, unfortunately, I do remember. This is either set point to them or, again, it's juice, and we needed to win this point. And some donkey lumps the string block. Rip. There goes the first set. Into the second set then, and this is a really nice point from Neo, our opposite. He gets a really good touch in the block to slow down their attack, gets off the net, and kills the ball down the line. Happy days, good volleyball. I really like the movement from me and Albert the libero here on this ball. We're crossing over nicely, both trying to pass aggressively, take as much court as we can. One thing that was quite different for me coming from England to play in Sweden is there was way more emphasis when I played in Sweden than there had been at the time in England on replaying the ball. So like this, when you get a set that's not perfect, you try and just play it into the block and get the ball back. Obviously doesn't always go to plan, but still. I'm usually pretty self-critical when it comes to watching back the games, but I think on this occasion I can say that was quite a good replay, and my team probably should have had that up. Watching this back as well, we actually get way more blocks than I remember at the time. It's another great block. And here's another good replay and attack, again being rewarded, and this time we do manage to cover and take the point. The biggest thing I remember from this game for me personally though was my passing. This was the first time since coming to Sweden where I felt like I passed how I'd been used to passing for Sheffield in England, where I'd been super aggressive and looking to take the ball from other people consistently. Usually when I do this, I get good results in reception. I can't speak for my teammates, but I personally find when passing next to other people who have this aggression, it makes me much more comfortable in the reception unit, as opposed to passing next to someone who's shy and passive and waiting for you to come and take the ball from them. So I was really pleased that in this game, versus a lot of tough float serves from a very good team, I was still taking a lot of court and putting in some decent balls to the setter pretty consistently. Unfortunately, Hilter stepped up in the second set and somewhat blew us out of the water. As much as we did play well in the first and make close, they did make quite a lot of unforced errors they didn't make in the second, and that probably was the difference. I want to end by talking about the psychology of this game though. It's really tough going to play against the best team in the league who are unbeaten, knowing you haven't won a game yet that season. The big focus for me in these games in terms of psychology is to not give up. In sport, you don't really ever hear people say, "We know we're going to lose," when they're in this situation. Apart from technically not being true, as you never know how it's going to turn out and upsets do happen, it's mainly because, in my opinion, if you give up before you've started, it's impossibly hard to then play with energy and enjoyment, and it somewhat becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Instead, you tend to hear people speak in euphemisms like, "We're up against a good team today, but it's a free hit, we've got nothing to lose," and so on. We've got nothing to lose, i.e. no harm taking a risk and going for it, because if you miss and fail, well, no harm done, we were probably going to lose anyway. But again, I can't really say that. This sort of stuff relates to what I've talked about before on focusing on the process, not the outcome. Forget the score and get stuck in. This is hard, but in my experience, it's super common for these games to be close and competitive for a while, and then the better team has a good run of serves, goes a few points up, and the other team just gives up and gets rolled. Because they know they've been doing really well to just keep level, so there's no belief that they'll have someone go down and serve through aces, so they just go flat and drop their level. That buzz every time you win a point has gone. You had it before because there was belief. Hang on boys, we're still level, we could do this. Oh no, never mind, we're 4 points down, now give up. Similarly, the pressure then comes off the other team, they see the other side has given up, relax into it, turn the screw, and their level goes up. The moral of the story is, don't give up. Yeah, fine, maybe you basically have lost as soon as they pull ahead because they're too good. But giving up is not the answer. Keeping fighting with the same passion and energy you had whilst the game was close is the difference between trading and finishing the set only down by that one good service run or getting completely pumped. Not giving up doesn't mean convincing yourself that 18-24 down, you're destined to win. It means still caring and fighting for every point. Maybe you don't win, but you can force them to keep their first team on and not bring on the bench. Maybe they've already brought the bench on and you do manage to get that run and break points and get back into it. The point is you have to keep fighting and keep the energy up. Obviously, being part of a losing team isn't as fun, but being in the trenches like this with the team has taught me an awful lot about this sort of stuff of managing energy levels. And I think it has made me a much better player. So that's everything I have to say about this game. This was actually our last game of 2022, so we had a few more weeks of training with no game and then a week off for Christmas. So in the next video, I'll cover those few weeks of training and how we prep for a game knowing we had a month in advance, a little break we had over Christmas, and then said game. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure to subscribe and go and follow me on Instagram.